important year, the 30th anniversary of the fall of Saigon, or the year of the unification as they call it, and Ho Chi Minh's 115th birthday. It was the end of the war that consumed my trip from beginning to end. As we walked through the old quarter of Hanoi, I couldn't help think that 30 years ago we were bombing the city and its inhabitants. I was haunted by the fact that as we tried to save the South, we killed almost 3 million Vietnamese. And here we were 30 years later, eating in Hanoi and visiting the tomb of the very man we tried to kill, Ho Chi Minh. How would we be greeted? Anger, hatred, resentment? What emotions awaited us as we experienced and explored Vietnam and our own U.S. foreign policy?
Điệp sắm nha cho chàng Vinh mới lại về Vinh. Non y long uy, ôi em đôi non long uy. Non long phụ tất dây tất mà nêm gặm. Tiểu hoa chén ngọc mà đùa nga. Mắm thau bát bình dừa cánh với mò vịt cái điêu sắc vịt bạc. Con cá dưới nước ý con ngựa mang tiền. Tình tán non tăng tích tích tăng non tăng tình. Là thiếp nha theo chàng Vinh với lại về Vinh. Điệp sắm nha cho chàng Vinh đáo lại về Vinh.
Y'all line up like dorks.
Excuse me.
He isn't. He's not getting half as spiel as yours. Go ahead, get up there, Sauce. That's hilarious. Let's show this to the school. Wait till Rhea sees that.
See the screen?
Chị hãy sinh tăng tình là chị hãy đừng một mình qua lời.
At first I was hesitant to ask people if they had been affected by the war, but I needed to know. Fortunately, I actually had a hard time finding anyone old enough to remember the war. 55% of the population is under the age of 30, which is probably why we received such a raucous welcome at the Tran Phu High School. The principal greeted us very warmly, even though I later found out he fought in the war, guarding a fuel depot in the north, and lost many friends. There was no doubt he had put it behind him. The war was over. Our students were cheered like rock stars upon arrival, and as we sat with our Vietnamese counterparts, the cultural differences began to fade, and suddenly I was confronted with the full force of the Nexus mission. Watching our kids talk and laugh with their new friends, it struck me how important this kind of contact is to the growth of our students. This is the opportunity that Nexus provides. This is why I do this. To watch these kids interact made the whole project worthwhile. The 32-hour flight, the year of logistical preparations, the preparation classes, the headaches, everything was suddenly put into perspective. This is why I do this. These kids, both Vietnamese and American, will never forget this experience. But it still entered my mind that 30 years ago, the interaction between our two great cultures would have been different. It was hard to imagine my students carrying an M16 on a mission to kill the students of the Tran Phu High School. It makes you wonder in the end how necessary is war.
Sorry. I'm Brian. Get your friends. Get your friends.
Our first direct encounter with the war was at the Hao Lo prison, otherwise known as the Hanoi Hilton. It didn't take long before I was confronted with the sad pictures of American POWs and the absurd Vietnamese propaganda that insisted they were never tortured and they were always treated with respect. I couldn't believe my eyes. Photos of GIs with captions explaining their humane treatment by their honorable Vietnamese captors. The anger rose up within me. I'd grown up with nightly newscasts of the war. I remember the day that POWs were released. I've seen the documentaries and interviews how they were tortured. This was total bullshit. I couldn't take it. Kong, you know these men were tortured, don't you? Why do you say that? Because they have said so. I'll send you a documentary so you can see with your own eyes. No. Don't do that. I don't want to see it, and it won't get to me anyway. John McCain said he was tortured here. Well, you believe your government. I'll believe mine. That explained everything. Knowledge in Vietnam was widely controlled by the government in spite of the 1986 Doi Moi policy, which opened their country to a Chinese-like capitalist economy. It was obvious from the next chapter of our adventure that not all Vietnamese have benefited from Doi Moi.
Anh cha khớp bạc chữ anh cha khớp bạc anh đưa nàng là về dinh.
Hello, sorry to make all the sorry, but suffering the one more over here.
Dậy thắng kiều vàng ơi ơi bạn chung tình ơi ơi bạn tình ơi
As we sat in Lac Village in Mai Chau, preparing ourselves for the 3-day trek to come, we saw some kind of celebration going on. It didn't take long for the friendly white Thai people to invite us in and share in a celebratory rice wine tasting. As we watched the dancers and sipped wine with complete strangers, I couldn't help but think what a special experience this was. For the next 3 days in Mai Chau, we would not see one Westerner, not one hotel, nor even one restaurant. This again was exactly the kind of adventure I was looking for. An unspoiled cultural experience to know the true Vietnam.
mắm thau bát bình dừa cánh với mò vịt cải điêu sắc vịt bạc con cá dưới nước ý con ngựa mang tiền tình tang non tang tinh là thiếp
After a hot and wet 5-mile hike, we stopped in Vo Village. That night, we all slept on the floor of a long hut separated from the host by a temporary hanging blanket. 15 students and 2 adults sleeping side by side with only candles to light the night. I didn't know I was thinking when I signed up for this. What an idiot.
Wait till the people in the boardroom see this. And this is where your students slept. I'll probably get fired.
What struck me about Mai Chau was the vivid green of the ready-to-harvest rice. Everywhere we went, we were enveloped by this calming blanket of green, only occasionally interrupted by a farmer or two in their typical conical hats. It was obvious as we hiked through the remote villages that these people probably made less than the GDP per capita 650 listed for Vietnam.
He said, I don't want to eat them. I can eat dog, but not monkey. Come on. What? Thanks.
After a hot hour-long hike, we arrived at a school. We were the first Americans to ever visit this school, and the hospitable principal welcomed us with open arms. I was struck by his eloquence and his kind demeanor. As our students mingled, I talked to the principal about education, America, Vietnam, and of course, the war. He lost 2 uncles in the war, one in Laos on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and the other never returned from the Tet Offensive. Apparently his entire unit was wiped out by U.S. forces. It was obvious that the war reached into the farthest regions of Vietnam, sparing no one.
Hello. Hello.
Say hello. Xin chào.
Xin chào.
Go ahead. What? Yeah. Did you give it out to him? Hand it out to him.
Our second night in Mai Chau, we were greeted with a North Vietnamese delicacy, bun dit chua, otherwise known as dog. Kong said, "In Vietnam, we eat anything with 4 legs except a table and chairs." 13 of the 15 students tried it. It took me days before the taste was gone. For the record, dog does not taste like chicken.
Hello. Xin chào. Queenie, how are you? Number 1. Zoom. Thank you very much.
Gaylord, get in the picture. It's Matt Gaylord in How Long Bay.
After 3 long hot days of trekking, we deserved a break, and the junk, the jewel of the bay, putting around How Long Bay was exactly what the doctor ordered. For a couple days, we relaxed in the stunning scenery, playing cards, swimming, kayaking, and eating gourmet food. More than one student told me this was more like what they're used to. There always must be balance, work and play, play and work, and this was the play.
And this Barry Jones is World Heritage. In the World Heritage area around.
Look at this. Isn't this cool? Yeah, no. No. No tourists. No tourists. Tourist is bad.
Will you grab one fine?
Huh? Here. Wait.
Saigon. I'm still only in Saigon, said Martin Sheen in the infamous movie Apocalypse Now. And here we were, in Saigon, otherwise known as Ho Chi Minh City. It was totally different than Hanoi. More big business, better French architecture, broader avenues, better shopping. I was told by a random man as I probed about his experience in the war. The Americans may have lost the war, but American capitalism won the future of Vietnam. It made me wonder whether economics made for a better diplomacy by other means than war.
Another bucket. Very basic.
A lot of near misses. Say something, don't just stand there. Our last school visit was a tourism college in Saigon. Our students, by now used to immersing themselves into a strange group of people, settled in with little fanfare. It happened to be Tyler Brooks' birthday.